United States 2, Paraguay 1. United States 5, yes, you heard that right, 5, Uruguay 1. We just had a nearly perfect camp. And the U.S. men's national team has a pulse. The team is actually alive. And Pochettino might actually know what he is doing. And if he can get the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts, the U.S. men's national team could be a very scary opponent in the 2026 World Cup. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the last camp of 2025, the November camp. Let's recap it. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And welcome to our camp recap. Every single day or two following a U.S. men's national team camp, we bring in Adam, USMNT Stan on X, to recap. And this is how it's going to go. First, we start with the pulse check, where we go through on a scale from 1 to 10 on whether or not the team is alive. In the previous camp, that was a little bit better. We gave it a 3 because the team was slowly coming to life. We'll see what we're going to give it on this episode because it definitely is going to go up. After that, we give 2 players that had their stocks go up, 2 players that had their stocks go down, 1 big positive this camp and 1 big negative. Yes, there were a few negatives that we will address. Let me know in the comment section down below the 2 players that had their stocks go up and let me know why, and the 2 players that had their stocks go down and also tell me why. On top of that, don't forget to drop a like in this video. I will not be requesting it while our guest is here, so do that right now. Help us hit at least 500 likes in this video, maybe 1,000. But before we start, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, FPro. If you are a mom, a dad, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this ad. And if you're not, do whatever you want, but don't forget to drop a like in this video, okay? Let's play the ad and then start the episode. Do you have a young son or young daughter and you want to help them develop their soccer skills? You know I'm very much pro youth development, right? And ball mastery. And what if I told you it can be done at home? And there's a product that can actually help you. And that's why today we're partnering up with FPro. And you may be wondering, what is FPro? It is a gamified soccer fundamentals training system for kids. It combines 2 main parts, an FPro app and the soccer training mat, so the kids can have fun and train from home. So the mat has numbered zones to guide the movement. The app shows you how to do it. It's also built by UEFA coaches, so every single drill is designed for real skill growth. There's also a skill progression. It starts easy, adapts to every level, unlocks as kids improve. And it feels like a video game. You earn XP, badges, trophies. It's just a way to keep the kids motivated. And you may be wondering, why does it work? Well, pretty straightforward, because repetition builds muscle memory. And ball mastery is key for youth soccer development at early ages. They also have many subscription plans. Some of them are less than $10 a month, so you can go check them out yourself. And remember, for your kid to develop and become a better soccer player, it's not just about doing drills. They have to enjoy it. They have to fall in love with the ball. And that's one thing that I believe FPro does. Okay, so now if you want to, make sure to use the link in the description of this video and you will get 20% off if you also use the code Tactical Manager. So use the link in the description and the promo code Tactical Manager. And in the process, you'll also be helping the channel. Thank you very much, FPro. Okay, another camp recap with Adam. And Adam, it's been getting progressively better because we had a really bad streak. I think ever since Copa America, it was always bad to worse. The last camp recap, we found the pulse. The team was back to life. And now it looks like this team is starting to inject some steroids. Looks a lot better. How are we doing, Adam?
I'm good. Good, Tack. I remember like you asking me the question, we were kind of like, okay, we've got a pulse, but now like, is it real, right? Because we were coming off that Japan game and it's like, well, they rotated, right? And then the opponents last window were okay. They weren't terrible, but it wasn't like world beaters. So we still were, I feel like you and I were kind of like, we need to know if it's real. And this camp definitely slid us more into the category of this seems real, guys. Like this is now 3 straight camps of progression, right? Because even that Japan camp, even though we lost that first game to South Korea, that was a level up from where we were. Then last camp was a level up, and this was obviously, you're putting the scores up right now, pretty big level up in terms of scores, score lines, who we beat. So we're alive, Tack. We are alive. Like,
yeah.
CPR is administered. We went to the hospital. Like, we're now out of the hospital. We're going home and like we're ready to live life. Like,
And one thing I want to say is real quick about the 5-1 win against Uruguay. I know, like, for example, you talked about the context of Japan playing their reserves and we beat them. There are, I agree with a lot of people that are saying, oh, the Uruguayan players quit on their coach. But still, they could have quit on their coach and we could have beat them 1-0, 2-0. We could have struggled. And we just completely ran over them. I would say 5-1 was even nice of us. We could have gone for 6. We could have gone for
Yeah.
7. We
Yeah.
could have done a lot more. So 5-1 was us like, okay, we've done enough here against Uruguay. That context itself doesn't matter. If they were quitting on their coach, that's their problem. It still was a 5-1 win where we should have beat them 6 or 7. We played a lot better. And we beat Paraguay too, which is a tough opponent. And they definitely were not quitting on their coach. And we beat them 2-1. Okay. So overall, results that you can't complain about. I would say, in terms of result, a near perfect camp. In terms of team performance, pretty close to a perfect camp. Now, obviously, it wasn't perfect for every player. We're going to talk about that. But from a team perspective, pretty close to that, I would say. Now, Adam, I want to tell you this. We start now with the post check, a segment of this episode that you actually came up with, which is brilliant. And we started it last camp with the post check, which before camp it probably would have been a 1, close to a 0. The team was almost dead. And just let you know, we went with a post check of 3 out of 10 last camp. So for anyone who doesn't know, 1 is like almost dead, 10, it's alive, 5 is like we're okay. We put it at 3 last camp because we're coming back to life. We're like, look, this still looks like a sick patient, but it looks like the patient is recovering. Fair to say that the patient is fully recovered now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to hear how your interpretation of it, right? Because like I was kind of thinking about it, I went back and watched, and I saw, yeah, you had it at a 3, I had it at a 4, so we were right in the same ballpark. It was like, okay, like we were on life support, and now we definitely are, recovering. And like I said, I think we're backing out. I can't put us at a 10. We're alive, but a 10 is like, man, we are looking great. The pulse of this team is like, we are as healthy as you can be. We're running marathons, right? We're like peak athlete, ready to roll. I hope we get there. We're on the way. But like, you've got to, if we went from a 1 to a 4, 1 to a 3, I've got to go 4 to a 7 or 8. I was kind of in that ballpark, like 7.5. And I say that, Tack, not because the results were bad or anything. You're right. This was unbelievable, right? Rating the camp, we'll do that at the end, but like it's hard to rate this camp anything lower than a 9. I don't know who could possibly do that, right? And I'm excited to see if you put it at 9 or 10. But Pulse, it's like, okay, 7.5. Because like we still need to see a couple things, right? One, does this translate to our best group when they're all together? I think it should. It seems to be translating all over the place to different players coming in and out. So it should, but like I need to see it, because it can't, unfortunately, as good as this group played, this is not the group that can maximize the World Cup. And I'm excited for the guys who played well last night. And I think we can talk about a lot of those guys. There's a lot of questions raised now on the status of some of those guys because it has to matter, right? Playing against an Uruguay team, I don't care if they're quitting on their coach. I don't care. Go back into the past, Tack. We played some bad teams, really close, tied, right? Like, what was the Morocco? This reminded me of the Morocco game. We didn't beat Morocco 5-1, right? What do we beat them?
No, it was 3, and they literally had quit on their coach. They had. We know
So
that. That we know for a fact.
Yeah, that's what this reminded me of. And to be honest, that was still a good result against that Morocco team. And it was indicative of what was to come, which we performed well in the World Cup after. So I'll go 7 because I want to give us some room to grow. We got a couple camps, and I want to give some room to grow into.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7 as well. I think the patient is now alive. There's still question marks in regards to their health. They probably have to be careful the next few months. So I'll say a 7. And then in March, we're expected the rumors that we'll play Portugal and Morocco. Obviously, it depends on the group draw, right? If we draw them into our group, we probably won't play them. But assuming we play like Portugal, Morocco, and we end March undefeated, I don't think we have to win a game. But it would be cool if we won one. But if we end there with 2 draws or a win and a draw, I am close to giving us a 9 or a 10 post check for the World Cup. It's like, okay, it looks like we're ready. Now, you kind of alluded to it. This is looking more like a team, which is important. The culture was fixed. The momentum's being built. The question is, can Pochettino now get this culture with the best players possible and keep it going this way, this fight, the way they've been playing, because maybe this collection of individuals is better than the more talented ones. But if you want to maximize the potential of the generation, you get the best players to play like this. And that's where you have a shot of doing something incredible in the World Cup. That is probably Pochettino's biggest challenge right now, because he only has one more window. And I think March, we're probably going to see the World Cup roster there. He's probably going to call up what he envisions to be the World Cup roster in March. Maybe one or two guys that are not. But out of the 26 players that will probably call up in March, I would say 23, 24 are probably what he sees as World Cup locks.
Yep.
But okay, post-check updated to a 7, which is pretty damn good. If you go back to the summer, I did not expect this. And
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question real quick before we move to players? Because I think this is fascinating to me. What would you? We don't need to go too deep on it, but like, where would you, like, historically, soccer nation, where would you put Uruguay? I know they won the World Cups a long time ago, but like, if you had to kind of just place them, right? And tier one's obvious, right? It's the Brazil, it's Germany, it's, Italy historically. Like, do you put Uruguay in tier 2, like right below them?
Well, if you go based on history, they're tier 1. If you go based on history, it's tier 1. They've won 2 World Cups. It doesn't matter if it was in 1930, 1950. 2 World Cups is 2 World Cups, right? What does France have? France has 2.
2, yeah.
France has 2.
Spain has 1, right?
England has 1. So I would put them tier 1. They don't only have World Cups. They've won many Copa Americas. I think they have 8 or 9. They're only behind Brazil and Argentina. Right. They've qualified to multiple World Cups. They've had legendary players throughout history. Uruguay is a tier 1. Now, again, tier 1 doesn't mean
in the last 2 years,
World Cup contenders. That's what I'm saying. But they're tier 1 in terms of history. Yeah.
In the last 2 years, is it fair to say they're in like a tier 2 in the world, where tier 1 would be like
power ranking? You mean power ranking? Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you had to tier the teams in the world, like, and put them all in groupings, like I've got them in like a second tier of teams in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a team that so they started very hot this cycle with Bielsa, and usually Bielsa self-implodes, and that's kind of what's happening right now. But Uruguay, I mean, look, the players they have, if they get the coaching right, if the players are playing for the coach, like kind of like Morocco in the last World Cup, I wouldn't be surprised if Uruguay was in the quarterfinals. That'd be pretty normal to me. Right. And if they made it to the semis, I would say that's an impressive run, but I wouldn't be stunned if they made it.
They were in the semis a couple World Cups ago, right?
2010 was Forlan
with Cavani and Suarez.
Forlan was carrying.
Forlan,
it was when Suarez had the handball. That was an incredible team. So in terms of history, they're tier 1 for sure.
Right.
If you do a power ranking right now, they're one of those teams that you would put them. Hey, they can make it to a quarterfinals. Like, so that wouldn't be shocking at all.
Here's my point. I don't care. I've been looking for a win. You know what I'm saying? And like Paraguay was a nice win. Japan was a nice win. Like those were good wins. But like I tweeted out a while back, like, man, we haven't beaten, even if it's in a friendly, we just haven't lined up against another soccer nation that's in that upper tier and beaten them, gone head to head, beaten them. We got the tie against England. We have some other draws. And I don't know, Tack, when we were kids, right? When we were younger, we used to beat those teams in friendlies. Under Klinsmann, we beat those kind of teams
Germany,
in friendlies.
Right? Germany.
We beat in the 90s. We beat some of those teams, right? I mean, we went down to
90s. I'm not watching, dude. I'm not that old.
No, neither am I. But like, I just know we did historically, right? We beat Spain in 2009. Like,
we beat Spain in a competitive game.
There's all these wins kind of sprinkled, and my point is like, God, it's been so long, like since we beat a top tier soccer nation. And I just want to sit on that for a second, guys, because everybody's just like, well, they're quitting on their coach. And I'm like, guys, can we just enjoy what's enjoyable? Can we, like, I get that it wasn't like absolutely Uruguay at their best with every one of their best players, as motivated as they can be, but I'm going to enjoy the moment right now, and it doesn't mean we're going to win the World Cup, but I just want everybody to like enjoy for a second the fact that we beat a really good soccer nation. And that's rare.
Well, also, it's one of those where it's like you can always find an if and but with a win, right? You can always find one. Why don't we also, the same way we're saying Uruguay might have quit their coach, we only had 2 starters. So we can
listen. It takes a team on the other side to get someone to submit, right? It takes another boxer to knock another boxer out. Like, you've got to play well. Like, we played really well. And I think people are like discounting that in a way that I think is unfair. Like we absolutely put them in a torture chamber, and then all of the cracks showed. That's how I felt, right? Like,
Well,
because that
also
game,
just so we move on to stocks up, Mexico played them 3 days earlier and it was 0-0. Okay,
correct,
so
correct.
let's add that. And now stocks up. We got to do 2-player stocks up, 2-player stocks down. Yes, there were stocks down, just to make it clear. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Stocks up. Do you want to go first? Want me to go first? What do you want to do?
I'll just get the obvious one out of the way. I did a video on him yesterday. Gio Reyna's stock is up, right?
Yeah.
His stock was kind of like plummeting in the shadows for a long time. It was like little by little just because he wasn't around. And all of us just asked, hey, bring him back in and let's see. You and I have been saying that for multiple camps. It's like if he gets healthy, we got to bring him in. If he gets healthy, we got to bring him in. He got healthy, we brought him in. You very clearly can see the impact he can make, right? Is he a perfect player? No. Are there things you're probably going to have to surround him with to make sure you're covering your bases for what his weaknesses are? Yes, but his strengths are so vast in what he does in the attack, and he opens up so much for everyone else that it was just so obvious. I don't even see how you can watch that game and not go, yeah, you know what? I've been hating on Gio, but like, God, like that's what we can be with him, right? And now let's imagine Pulisic out there with him. Let's imagine like all of our best players out and around him, and it just elevates in my brain, right? I'm like, oh, that's it. That's the formula to us making a semifinal tack is like Gio Reyna playing at his absolute best. And so me stock up because I thought it was a first go, one game in a little bit, but it was a really good one game in a little bit.
I'll add one thing too about Gio, whether someone's a Gio hater or not. If you watch any of these games again, something we already knew for a long time, Gio Reyna has to be a roster lock. We're not saying starter. And I am actually okay if he's not a starter. I think he still has to earn that. But let me ask you a question. If we're down 1-0 in a knockout round, the World Cup, who do you rather come off the bench to give you a goal? Gio, Aronson, Luna, Gio Reyna? Like, I understand he has been working hard defensively. He just doesn't have sometimes the mobility or athleticism to have that much of an impact. He's not a player that will press well, right? He'll try, but it's just not his thing. But if you are hammering an opponent, needing a goal, desperate, you don't put Luna or Aronson. You put Gio Reyna in the second half. So worst case scenario, you need to have a player like that on the bench. He might not play that much. He might be on a limited role in this World Cup because you have Pulisic and Tillman, or even Pulisic and McKennie, whatever Pochettino wants to go with. But you do need to have Gio off the bench because it could happen that we're down, and we need subs that can have an impact. And you have a center forward like Pepe or Haji that could have an impact if you send him in. Attacking midfielder, if Tillman and Pulisic are on already, you don't have another one. Right. So you do need to have, and also if Gio's starting, that means you can put Tillman off the bench as well. So you need to have Gio there. I think Aronson, for example, he's very useful for specific situations, but if you're down 1-0, that's not the guy you put in to change the game and get your goal. And Diego Luna, I'm not sold. So Gio, obviously, that's an obvious one. Anyone that disagrees is just hating on the guy for no reason at this point. I'm gonna put Alex Freeman as a stock up. It's also an obvious one in my opinion. He had nearly a perfect game against Uruguay, scored 2 goals, playing as a center back, and defensively didn't really make a single mistake that game. And his stock goes up also because one of the guys we're going to talk about stock down very soon. Scally, we'll talk about him in a second, didn't play well. But I think Freeman showed, just like we talked about Gio, I don't think he locked in a starting spot with the team. But there were question marks about him being in the roster, yes or no. I think he kind of locked that spot because now you have a player that clearly can play as a right center back and he can play also as a wing back. That versatility is kind of important. He gave you goals. He gave you a good defensive moment. He looked better as a defender than Miles Robinson, for example. That's a pretty big deal for a young player. So not that Miles is great, but I'm just saying that like that's a guy that should be the veteran. So I think Freeman's stock definitely went up from a guy that maybe he'll be in the World Cup, maybe not. I think he kind of became a roster lock at this point.
I had him number 2 on my list. I'll just disagree though, because I had the same argument with somebody on Twitter today. He really was not deployed as a right center back. I thought he was as well, and then I went back and watched, and I think Poch. This is going to go into one of my positives. There's some tactical stuff Poch is doing that to me is really smart. Like Freeman's biggest downside, in my opinion, is when there's space defensively. Even though he's fast, he does get beat, right? We've seen that a lot. He gets beat defensively. And I think what Poch did is by putting us in the 4-4-2 and putting him all the way on the right side. So he was defending really as a right back in a 4-4-2. He wasn't defending as a right center back. And we really weren't caught in transition much. And then offensively, he was really playing more as like a right back, and Morris was dropping into the back three. Because I was looking for that. I was like, oh man, is he like back in that back three, like
Wasn't
building out?
Scally played that role in the previous game.
Scally did.
And that was a problem because he was
Correct.
He was occupying space where Dest could beat his man, and he couldn't combine with Dest.
So
that was
the biggest, and maybe Poch learned, but the biggest wrinkle he made in the game is he didn't have Freeman back in possession. He pushed him up wide pretty much always, and he dropped Morris a little bit deeper. So there was kind of a bank of back three. Morris was a little flexible. He was kind of moving in and out of it. So I don't know about him at the right center back spot as a pure what we've been seeing. But I do think what Poch is doing is he's like, well, I want to play Freeman and Dest together. So here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to drop Morris more today into the back line. Maybe that's Adams in the future, which to me is really cool. But Freeman, no matter what position he played, clearly showed, hey, I can play, guys. I can play against Uruguay. I've got ability. And to be honest, I don't know if maybe it's going to come up in the stock downs. I don't want to step on our toes, but like if it's him versus Scally in this camp, it's him, right? I mean,
yes, we'll talk about Scally on the he definitely had his stock down, unfortunately. I still think he should get another shot. He can be useful, but definitely wasn't a great camp.
Those two are let's talk more about Scally and the stocks down, but those two are connected, and I think it's silly to not talk about them like they aren't, right? Like Freeman stock up because also it automatically puts Scally stock down, but I agree. Freeman's too. My second one, I really never predicted that I would be saying this on these camp recaps, Tack. If you asked me all the players in the pool last summer, you said, Adam, give me odds of anyone you ever think you're going to have stocks up after, especially a camp against Uruguay and Paraguay. Sebastian Berhalter's stock is up. It just is. Like, I really was watching the first half back last night. I stayed up late just to watch it back so I could make sure and have enough to kind of talk about it here. Sometimes First Watch doesn't get it for us. And I was like I was looking to pick apart Sebastian Berhalter's play. And I really couldn't. He was really good. He was good on the ball. He like made every single pass that he needed to make. He was advancing the ball. He was, making, long skips to open up attacks. He was breaking up plays all over the place. He was deflecting balls. Obviously, he had the goal and the assist, and off the free kick stuff, he's great. But I really First Watch, you don't always get it, And I was like, was it just free kick magic? Because that we know he's good at that. But he actually played really well. And he definitely, now he's not a starter. He's not even on the roster for me yet. Like, you have to do this more than just once. Because to me, he hasn't been very good before. And I have rewatched the games. So he's got to do it more. But to me, he put himself, once again, there's a mess in the midfield, Tack. Like, who are our midfielders? Because we have a bunch of guys competing. And now, I thought Berhalter played really well. Tessman played really well this camp as well. So going to be interesting to see who wins those spots, who's starting. Is it who we think should be starting, or is it going to be one of these other guys that kind of elevates? But I got to give Berhalter his props, man. I've hated on the guy a lot, and I've got to do the opposite when I see the opposite.
Yeah, I can see why his stock would go up with Pochettino. I mean, you get a goal and assists, you play a big role. I thought he had like one or two bad giveaways that he got lucky to not get unpunished. He tried like one-touch passes playing out of the back, from what I remember. I wouldn't put him on my stock up, but I can see him being on Pochettino's stock up for sure, because the overall performance was good.
How can he not be stock up though? Like, it does. Like, my stock on him was, this guy has no belonging in a camp or in a game like this, right? Like, that's literally where my stock is. And now my stock is like, if a guy plays that well in that game, to me, you're doing yourself a disservice to ignore any performance like that, because it sends a message that this isn't a competitive environment. If you're going to bring guys in and play him, now I wouldn't be playing the guy. That's not how I would have done it. But if you're bringing him in and playing and they're going to play well, you now have to. They've earned another opportunity. Otherwise, you're sending a really bad message. Any soccer player can see that was a good game.
I think it's fair to say he's earned another opportunity. I think it's just another case of like Diego Luna, where he has like those, like, he had a moment, which were moments in this game, right? Goal, assist, overall solid performance in a game where most players played well, by the way. And then from that moment, we start like, oh, now he needs to be there and all that. And then like Luna hasn't done. He scored yesterday, but let's be real, he hasn't really played well in since the Guatemala game, I think, probably.
Sure.
Yeah, I think. So,
listen,
yeah,
if Berhalter comes back, plays 30 minutes, and it's a stinker, which I think has been what it has been so far, then it's like, okay, it was a moment. But like, certainly he's earned that opportunity. And my stock was he should never, ever be in a camp ever. Like, so he flipped my mindset on him in the fact that I'm like, well, I was wrong. He did belong in that game. Poch was right about it. I was wrong.
I am going to give Tessman stocks up because he was good in both games. He scored a goal off the bench too. That was kind of important. That was kind of cool too, to see him come in and score with Gio assist. Tessman he was very close to a roster lock, I think, already, based on the options we had. He was pretty close to that. But I think right now he made a statement of not a locked-in starter. As you said, there's still players fighting for that in the midfield. But he made a strong case that, hey, next camp, which is the last one before the World Cup, you're going to have to start me. And if I hold my own, I play well again, you're probably going to start me in the World Cup. I think he made a strong case for that, where he was definitely not a lock to start. And he was even a roster lock before this camp. He was very close to it.
He's fighting for a roster spot before this camp.
I think he locked the roster spot, and I think he made a strong case to start at least next camp and possibly in the World Cup. He showed. I think a Tessman Adams midfield would be quite interesting to see. So I'm not going to expand upon that. Pretty obvious for Tessman. Yeah, we can go straight to the stocks down. Why don't we start with Scally right away, that we kind of already mentioned? Joe Scally as a stocks down. He played the first game as a similar role as Freeman played in the second game. It was technically a right center back, but he was very high up the field in possession, at times almost looking like a right winger. He was higher than Des sometimes.
Yep.
And it was a poor performance from Scally, despite us beating Paraguay. Defensively, he was shaky. On offense, he didn't offer anything. And then in the second game, Freeman stood out. And even though we had a 5-1 lead or 4-0 or 4-1, Scally never came in, and Des was subbed out. And I think Berhalter became like a right wing back. He played a little bit wider, and Pochettino still didn't play Scally. So it's impossible for anyone to say Scally's stock didn't go down. He wasn't getting called in. He got an opportunity, and it was like the opposite of Gio Reyna, right? Because they both were in similar situations. So if you look from a Pochettino point of view, Scally's stock went down. I think unless there's an injury crisis, if A-Rob is back in March, which hope he is, I don't think Scally makes the roster in March. And very likely he doesn't make the World Cup roster. I think Pochettino might even prioritize playing Weah out wide and McKennie over Scally. So, and again, anyone saying you're hating, I'm not hating on Scally. I think Scally can still be very useful for this team because he can play right wing back, left wing back, and even the center back role, I think he can do fine. I think it just was a bad game, but his stock is down a lot.
When you're fighting for a spot, it's like you have to prove what's the point of me, right?
No margin for error. That's the problem.
Right. And like, so what's the point? Poch is thinking, what's the point of having Scally on the World Cup roster? Is it to play right? We're playing 3 in the back mostly. Is it to play right center back? I've got better options, right? If everybody's healthy, way better options. I wouldn't want him really in the game at that role unless it's absolutely like dire straits. And then right wing back, really pointless, right? You just mentioned put Weah there, right? Put Des there. Freeman, obviously a right wing back, way before. So I just don't see where he fits, right? I just don't think there's really a fit for him right now with the other options we have. My biggest stock down, I had Scally on my list, but my biggest stock down, and this is also impacted by whose stock has gone up recently. When I say recently, recent months. So I think we've seen Haji have a really nice game, right? Last camp, 2 goals. That was a really nice moment. He's played well overall. I thought he was pretty good last night. He wasn't great, but he did win that free kick that led to the first goal.
I thought he was kind of poor last night. I thought
overall he was fine.
He didn't have like Gio or Pulisic to maybe create or anything, but I thought he was mostly poor throughout the game.
He was okay and hold up, and he had a couple moments, including winning the free kick that led to the first goal. So I agree with you, right? He really didn't stand out. It's fine though, but recently we have seen him stand out. Ballo, all Ballo's done is stand out recently, in my opinion, right? He just had standout game after standout game. Even his bad games are still solid, for him. A bad game for him is
Paraguay. The Paraguay game is an interesting one for Balogun because he was mostly a ghost, but scored the game-winning goal, and if there
Correct.
was a VAR, he would have drawn a penalty kick because he got hit. So imagine
Correct.
that when you have a bad game, you still score a goal and draw a penalty kick. That's pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with you. He kind of wasn't. You didn't even notice him, but as a striker, the whole thing is, can you come up with the moment, right? Like, and he came up with the moment. So that just naturally makes Pepe stock down, and Pepe didn't even get playing time, right? So it's like really hard to not look at Pepe right now. And it's similar to Scally. It's not like an indictment on him, or I think he sucks, or I think he has no chance of making the roster. Just right now, his stock has to be down because he, came back from injury, and it's like, okay, which way is he going to go? And we saw Gio come back into this camp and elevate. And I thought we saw Pepe come back to this camp, really mostly not get opportunity. It's kind of unfair, but your stock has to go down when you're in a camp and you just don't really get any opportunity. And the other nines are playing pretty well.
And Pepe did also, again, I don't want to hold players accountable for like one moment. The same way I don't want to hype Sebastian Berhalter for moments. Pepe did miss a sitter, which was really bad, right? And I know he normally scores that. That's not normal for Pepe. So that's why I don't want to hold that grudge.
It looked like he was out of form. Like, just, I don't know, like took too many touches. I was like, what are you doing?
You know what it looked like? It looked like when you're playing pickup soccer and then your team loses and you sit out for 30 minutes and
right.
And you just and someone's like, hey, I need a sub, and you just come in and you're all rusty and stiff.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just haven't like played in months and you're like, oh yeah, let me get back out there, and you're like, oh, my touch is off.
You're like, oh, my back hurts and the knees, the mobility is not there. So that's what it looked like. But it's not normal for Pepe to have that. But I get your point. I think one player I want to put stocks down also is Aiden Morris, because I thought he was very, I wouldn't say terrible. He wasn't terrible any of them, but he was worse than Sebastian Berhalter. I'll put it that way. And Aiden Morris is a player that we were expecting to be fighting for a spot there with Tessman, Tyler, McKennie, Johnny, that we don't know Johnny's situation right now too. It's not looking good as well. But Aiden didn't look that good. He didn't look like a player that would even be serviceable in the World Cup. Now, mind you, I still think he's a very good player, and I wouldn't mind if he got another shot in March. I would have no issue with it. But it's hard not to say that his stock didn't go down. I think it's fair to say that Aiden's stock did go down. He was a player that was fighting to become a roster lock, and he comes out of the camp almost like he might be out. He might not make the next roster. So I don't think he actually took advantage of his opportunity this camp.
My second stock down is Musa, and I want to see the time.
Even lower?
I don't have much to say, but I do want to talk about this. And I think it'll play into why I have Musa on my stock down list. Even lower, yes, even lower. Because that midfield, how many midfielders do you actually think will bring? And you got to remember, Poch right now is playing two midfielders, right?
Yeah,
He's not really playing three.
Let's do it this way. There's no more wingers, right?
Correct.
So the midfielders would be, let's say he would bring like
I'm not don't count your advanced. I'm not talking about because there's very clearly
guys, the double pivot. The double pivot.
I'm not talking about the half space, inverted wingers.
5 to 6.
You think he'll bring 6 guys for those spots?
Yes, 5 to 6.
What's the total roster for the World Cup?
26.
26, yeah.
I've done a lot of roster predictions, so I kind of have it in my head. The midfielders there, probably 5.
That's what I was thinking. 5 was the number I had.
It'll be like 5 in the double pivot and 5 in the more attacking role, roughly.
Correct. That's exactly how I laid it out a couple days ago. And that's exactly how I laid it out. And it's really hard to get to Musa winning a roster spot right now. And so to me, every single camp where he is not in and other guys are like Tessman, right? To your point, performed really well for 2 straight camps. Sebastian Berhalter performed well against Uruguay. He now has an opportunity over Musa. I can't imagine Poch bringing in. I would bring in Musa because I still think he has more upside. I just can't imagine Poch bringing it in now, given the scenario.
The whole thing about being merit-based, right? Because whether we like Berhalter or not, he put up a performance. And then if you don't call him up and you call up Musa.
So if you're going to call him up over Musa or play him over Musa in March, when's the opportunity for Musa? It's almost like Musa's pulse check, right? It was like on life support. And this is the first camp I really feel like the Musa World Cup scenario is dead. I just don't see a path back unless he starts lighting it up for club. And it's just so obvious. Right? It's not going to happen. So I put Musa on there, but right now, Adams, I'll McKennie's like a flex, you know, so maybe he goes up or back.
That's why I said 6, because McKennie could be the 6.
Right. Poch hasn't played him there, so it's kind of hard to even imagine Poch rostering him there, even though he could play there in the World Cup.
Let's do 5 without McKennie. 5 without McKennie.
Adams, Tessman.
Roldan will be there.
Roldan will be there, unfortunately. You're right. You have to put him in because he's just going to bring him on the roster. It gets murky, right? I mean, like who?
Then it becomes Berhalter, Aiden Morris, Johnny, all fighting for that spot. And I hope I'm not forgetting anyone.
Are we?
I hope not. I mean, we covered this so extensively.
I
think those are the main ones. Yeah,
right.
Those are the main ones.
So I mean, it's like when you actually start thinking about it, you're like, there's like a very realistic path for Berhalter to win a roster spot from Poch. There's a very, there's a very real scenario that Musa could have won his way back. I just don't see it. All those other guys have been in and around Poch, and he hasn't. And so it would be so almost weird. I would be excited. It'd be weird if Poch was like, hey, all these guys that have gotten used to my system and I've seen perform decent, you're all out. This guy's in.
Well,
right?
Musa also rejected a Gold Cup call-up.
I know.
And Musa ain't Pulisic.
I know.
Right? He ain't Pulisic. So Pulisic, Pochettino wants this. Like, there's no players with a spot guarantee. I'm sorry. Like, we know Pulisic does have a guaranteed spot, right? Correct. The only way he doesn't make it is if he, I don't know, gives Pochettino the finger in the middle of a friendly. That's like the only way. But Pulisic's going to be there. But Musa ain't that. And he skipped camp. He skipped the Gold Cup. No one knows why. There was apparently he was going to get a move, but then he didn't get the move, and then he ended up getting the move, and the move is terrible. He's not playing. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Musa's stock, for me, Musa's stock didn't go down because it was already where it is for you now. But I get what you're saying. What you're saying makes total sense.
Yep.
Adam, I'll let you go first on this one. Now it's not about players. It's more of like big picture. It could be a player if you want to, but one big positive from this camp, and don't cheat. Don't say the results. Don't cheat.
Oh, yeah. No. Not the results. To be honest, I don't think we should even be that results-based. It should be performance-based. But I'm going to cheat. I've got 2. I'll kind of pull them together. So one is, I think Poch is starting to really have like full control of the team, the roster, the motivational stuff, the culture, right? The tactics with this team. He really seems to be putting it together. Like, and you could just see, like, it seems like he's pulling the right strings, even when he's pulling strings that I'm sure you disagree with that roster when you saw it. I did. Even when he's pulling strings that I don't understand, they seem to be working. And that is like, from a coach, I coached for 15 years at the college level. And as a coach, that is the version of a player being on the field and just being like in a zone and hot, right? Where he just seems to like have everything under control. And so 2 specific big positives that kind of fold into that. One, I can see a very clear culture and identity that he's developing with this team. With the, in possession building with 3 in the back and 2 wide and, half space wingers. Every single camp now, it's getting more fluid. I thought our best offensive half I've ever seen in a long, long time was that first half against Uruguay with players who weren't optimal. But system-wise, you can see he is building a way that we're playing that like everybody's able to step into and get right away. And that is the best version of a coach, right? Because it's not overly complex. Players don't have to think. Any player can come into it. There's very clear direction, very clear roles, very easy to understand things to do. And guys are like, oh, I get it. I'm here. I can play free. Ball goes there. I know that I need to be in that space. And you can see guys interacting in a way that I don't remember seeing us do with the level of consistency we did for that half. And so cool to just see like this culture and identity. And then guys, like every guy that steps on the field now, you're seeing put a ton of effort in. Like Tim Tillman had like 4 I don't like Tim Tillman. He had 4 counter pressing like breakups. 1 led to a goal. Like every guy is contributing. And it's been like now over 3 camps now, Tack. We've seen a lot of players step in. If you go back, we have played a lot of guys on the field. And all of them seems like they all get how hard they need to play. They're all motivated. They all get that they're trying to win a spot. And then they all play with fluidity because it doesn't seem like we really play that much worse when we bring different guys in. And then the second piece of it is tactical flexibility. Like we've seen him bring Jedi into the midfield one game. to like bring him into a double pivot to kind of flex what that roster was. That was a while back. We've seen him this past game bring Aiden Morris back into the back three to pull Freeman up. So he, even within what he's doing, there's some flexibility with how he's able to, Berhalter was the opposite, right? Berhalter was like square peg, round hole, go play there. That's how we play. And Poch is like, oh, we have to play these guys today. Here's what we'll do. No big deal. We'll put Freeman up there. We'll bring Aiden Morris back. We'll flex this guy into the midfield to help us build out. And it all seems to be working when you watch it. So the big positive is Poch, man. He just seems to have it under control.
It's funny because Berhalter would repeat the lineups multiple times and we wouldn't look like a team. While Pochettino keeps changing the lineup all the time and we still look like a team. Recently, right? It was poor in the beginning. And I think Pochettino actually sacrificed early. That's why I even said he won me over. I think a lot of the things that I judged him, I was wrong about. He sacrificed results and team cohesiveness in the beginning to completely break that culture that he inherited from Greg Berhalter.
Yep.
And he succeeded with that. Then he's starting to try to build a team. Now, will he be able to do so with the best players on time for the World Cup? We'll see. That's where he's going to get ultimately judged, right? I'm just going to be very quickly with my big positive because you kind of touched upon it. I think our depth was tested this camp and they passed. What it showed is if we are missing a few key players in a game here and there in the World Cup, at least we have guys that maybe they won't win us a game against a tier 2 team because I don't think these guys are. Well, Uruguay would be if they were in their best form. But we have guys that if we play against any of these teams, they can at least hold their own and we won't get embarrassed and give you a shot to compete, right? Ultimately, to pull an upset, you're going to need Pulisic to step up. You're going to need Balogun to step up. You're going to need those guys, Tyler Adams to be there. But it showed that we have options of players that can hold their own against good competition. In this case, they won because I don't think it was the best competition we're going to face in the World Cup. But I think our depth passed the test. And obviously the biggest positive of them all of gaining depth is Gio Reyna being back because one of the issues was that it's like when Pulisic and Tillman are off in that game, who's our other creator? Who's going to make things happen? Because Balogun doesn't make it happen on his own. You need to find him, and he'll get things done. And we got Gio Reyna there. So, and again, Gio, Tillman, hopefully not Pulisic. It could happen that they're injured or not fully fit for the World Cup. So having 3 guys that can play that role is important. And before this camp, Gio was kind of out of the picture. He just came back to life. And I know I'm talking about a player specifically again, but again, it goes back to our depth being tested and passing the test. I'll go first with a big negative, which it's kind of weird, right? Because it was nearly a perfect camp. We're going to rate the camp right after, and it's going to be really high, the rating. But there is one negative, right? Pochettino was hired late in the cycle, halfway through it. And he had to spend pretty much this entire time so far fixing the culture. We still don't have a cohesive team with our best players. And we talked about that if we want to make a deep run in the World Cup, it's not going to be this starting 11 against Uruguay that we saw. It has to be this mindset, system, mentality of the starting 11 we saw against Uruguay with the players that can pull something against a Morocco, against a Germany, against, I don't know if we can beat a France, like these teams that we might need to pull an upset of Belgium. You will need this team to play well with Pulisic, with McKennie, with Tillman, Dest, hopefully A-Rob healthy, Tyler. You will need to see that. And we don't know if that's going to happen on time. Because again, we're not playing FIFA. You don't just get the highest rated players, you put them together and things will work out. That's not FIFA. That's not how it works in real life. But the best coaches are able to get those highest rated players to play the best way possible. Right now, our best team might not be with all the highest rated players together on the field. The question is, how many of them will Pochettino be able to integrate on time? That is the big question. Yep. And why is that a negative? Well, it's a negative because they weren't there, a lot of them. So we don't know. I like what I saw this camp, but I want to see it with our best players. And people are going to say, well, this team is better than our best. That's a problem. you need to have the best team with your best players. That's the problem. And will Pochettino be able to do that on time? I hope so. And actually, I would say right now, I think so, but we haven't seen it. So that's the negative.
Yeah. If our best players don't create the best team, that's a negative because it lowers your ceiling, right? It just does. Like you're not going to go as far with worse players making up your best team when you put it together. My biggest positive, again, I feel like I've done this for like 4 straight camps, but it just is. We still are giving up, and it's maybe being a perfectionist, but the defensive moments are still there where I'm like, oh, that was rough. Like the goal yesterday came off of the Matt Freeze and a center back running into each other.
And then we still didn't recover. We got
and
another
then
cross.
Right. And then we still
kick.
Right. Like that. So that kept it alive. Then we like couldn't recover to break up the ball, and they just kind of pinged it around and headed it into the middle, and nobody was there to break up a bicycle kick. Like it was like crazy. Like I rewatched that like 4 times, and I was like, we had like 30 chances to break that play up, Tack. Like, so I don't know. We still just like fall asleep defensively. I thought the Paraguay goal was a total snoozer as well. Like I get teams are going to make good runs and good plays, but like, man, the center backs, if you watch that, when that ball goes over the top, the center backs are like half jogging for 2 seconds. It's the only reason the guy's free in the box is because there isn't immediate like go when the ball goes over the top. So to me, that's like, that has to be, I hope he's showing that film. Like you cannot play in a World Cup if that's your effort on a ball over the top. Like
what you're saying is you want to see the opponent scoring a goal where you're like, holy crap, what a play. What a play.
Right.
They broke us down.
Or it's like one guy made a mistake. It just feels like multiple guys make mistakes on every one of our goals or aren't playing hard enough or like, yeah. So like it's soccer, right? A guy is going to make an error. Like when Freeman scored his goal, he made like a really good one-on-one move and a guy couldn't break it up. And it was like, if I was a Uruguay fan, I wouldn't be happy about it, but it wasn't like 5 guys making a big error. It was guys not playing hard enough for them. But so I want to see more solidity. I want to see a clean sheet at some point. And I know I might be being ambitious with the opponents we're playing, but
not really. I don't think you are.
I just think you're going to get into a World Cup game that you want to try and win. And if that is still a problem, you're going to give up goals to good teams. You're going to give too many goals to good teams.
There's never been an underdog story in the World Cup, Copa America, Euros, any big tournament with a bad defense.
By defense, yeah.
Never have been.
They're led by defense, right? Like almost always, they're led by defense.
Because if you're an underdog, you're mostly going to get attacked on. Correct. You're not going to control the game. So you have to be able to defend well, and then your forwards will figure it out as it goes. I mean, Morocco in 2022, it was mostly defense and very direct like play, very direct. And I mean, also the mentality, they bend and they don't break. So I agree with you. Yeah, defense is still one big concern, and hopefully Pochettino can fix that. Now, what do you rate this camp? Because I'm gonna give this camp, I don't know, man. It's hard to not give it a 10. Like, what else do we want?
I'm a 9.
Where are you deducting the point?
I'm deducting the point for exactly what you said and I said earlier, which is like, to me, it can't be a perfect camp until it's at least some version of our best roster. We're never going to have everybody, but like a closer version to our best guys doing what we just saw, right? Which is 2 really good performances. Forget the scoreboard, 2 very strong performances. That's what I want to see. That's what's going to make it a 10 for me. But man, this is as close to a 10 as you're probably going to get. And it was joy. It was like joyous, right? Like I think we had a positive camp review last time for the first time in forever, but like this was really joyous. And I don't even know if we had one of these together at all, even including the Nations League win where we barely made it to the final. Like,
yeah. And I'll give it a 9.5, very close to a 10, because it's hard to deduct points with everything that happened. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't perfect. So maybe a 10 would be a stretch. A 10 would have been no defensive errors, 2-0 win, 5-0 win. And then it's just like, okay, if you don't give it a 10, you're just an asshole at this point.
Right.
Yeah, 9.5. I think that's fair. But Adam, the next one that we have will be in March, and then the World Cup. Then we're there. Just one more camp recap, and then I guess we can recap the World Cup. Or maybe what we can do, we'll plan it out. We'll talk. Maybe
Yeah.
during the World
Chat
Cup, we can do something during it too.
Love
Have
it.
you on because I know you're going to be following it closely. Everyone's going to be following it closely. Adam, thank you very much once again.